So that's speak. You just press that on and then press it to go off.
Needs just hit it. You get it red light when it's on.
Okay.
So when it's red, you can speak, and it's going to be streamed, and everyone's going to hear you as well. When you're finished.
No, it's not.
Oh, it is. Yeah, we're not miking ourselves up. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're starting. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the first debate for the night. Obviously, the running order's changed a little bit, so we're going to be changing it from the communities to, sorry, no, the welfare, is it?
From the welfare.
From the welfare to president candidates up on the stage just now. Okay, so we'll begin. So before I came down here, I randomized the speaking order just, to essentially give everybody a fair chance. But we're going to start with Vanessa, and then we're going to have Samuel. Sorry, yeah, and then Nathan, and then we're just going to keep that order going throughout the night. So a question for yourself or like an introductory statement, then on like that, keeping that order. Okay, I should probably have said first of all that my name is Daniel O'Connor, and I am the chair of the Student Council, and I'll be chairing this debate tonight. Okay, and then after this, I'll pass over for the next one. Okay, so starting then with Vanessa, would you like to introduce yourself and give a quick introduction to your campaign?
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa. I study anthropology and IR on my final year. I'm also the current convener for the BAME Forum at AUSA, and I decided to run for student president because I think I have a lot to give to continue even after my graduation in terms of equality and diversity work. And the kind of overall lines in my campaign is that I want to increase transparency in the university at AUSA as well, so that all of the students know the whole processes and institutional systems they can be part of. I also want to strengthen the student voice to make sure that our students are part of shaping AUSA and the university as well. And I also want to make sure that forums get a better position and more institutional recognition because they really struggle to stay active at the moment. So my main points really are to stand with the students and show that we are here as a community.
Okay, thank you very much, Vanessa. Moving on then, could we go to Samuel, please?
Hi, my name is Samuel David. It's a privilege to be here today in this setting, to sit up at the front and look at you all out there in the audience and say my piece. I'm studying theology, first year, I'm 24. I'm running on the slogan KEE, exclamation mark, which is keep everyone encouraged. So I do have a small role within the university already as school convener for divinity, history, philosophy, and history of art. So as potential president, my key role is ensuring that dialogue between the university and students. That's the most important thing. I'm with a focus on encouragement. You'll have seen in my manifesto, at the top is KEE, keep everyone encouraged. And then below that is just obviously the day-to-day running of AUSA. Obviously, there's lots of people involved, but university meetings. And then the third on the list, which I don't know much about, would be obviously representing Aberdeen Uni beyond Aberdeen Uni, attending NUS events, other things as well. So largely just focus on keeping spirits up, getting everyone through the next year, and staying positive. So thank you for listening. That's my piece.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel. And Nathan, please.
Hello there. My name's Nathan Hughes. I study Scandinavian studies at postgraduate level. So that's basically anything to do with Vikings. The reason why I wanted to run for student president is I love the legacy that a lot of our people at the moment in their positions already have. And I genuinely believe that I want to be able to grow on top of that and enhance the engagement with the university, both for the students, but also with the faculty, as I think that there's a lot of things that do need to be a bit tightened up. And that's something that I think if I was to get the position, that's something I'll be heavily fighting for.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for those introductory speeches. Okay, then, so we're going back to Vanessa now, and I should have mentioned before the order of the debate. So I had intended to keep it as, I'm going to ask a few questions that we've got for you individually. So these questions will not be the same for everybody. There'll be specific points taken mostly from your manifestos. And you can sort of have a chance to elucidate on these, answer some questions that people will have. And then after that, we'll begin a session where we'll ask all of you the same question, and you'll have the opportunity to sort of debate it with each other if you want or not. but it'll be a different format. And then after that, we might open to the floor as well. We'll probably take public questions as well. Okay, so first of all then, Vanessa, your first question, I have it written here. Bear with me a second, okay. So in your first point on your manifesto, you say that you want to improve student well-being and strengthen student voices. Like many SABs before you have said that though, so you haven't given very many specifics on that. So could you tell us a little bit about how you're going to fix that problem yourself?
Yes, so I'm already quite active within the student community. So for me, increasing student well-being goes hand in hand with student activism. So as part of the BAME Forum and part of part of working with all the other forums as well. I think for me, student well-being is something that we have to creatively do as a community. That's why I've kept it quite vague to make sure that different initiatives that arise from the student community fit in that. So I definitely appreciate the work that previous SABs have done, and I think it has been amazing, especially during the pandemic. But I think next year, if I would be elected, I think it would be very important for me to work very closely with the community, as I would not be able to imagine myself as separate from it. So then collaborative work, anything that comes up, always directing ideas towards them as well.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Okay, we'll move on now. Samuel, your question then. So your manifesto was rather short. There wasn't a lot included in that. So, a lot of voters probably will only see your manifesto. So how are they going to, how are they going to take you as a good candidate or a candidate they should vote for, given the manifesto?
Thank you. No, that's a very valid point. I guess this kind of goes against the grain or the normal way of doing politics. I guess I'm not saying here, this is what I want to change, this is what I want to do. I'm saying I think I can do this role. I think I can provide a leadership here. I've focused on those 3 points: diplomacy, humor, and sensitivity. I feel that sums up what I can offer. I'm not looking to make big changes. Obviously, I would be part of a team with 4 vice presidents. I'm happy for that team to work with that team, for them to make changes they want to make. Having had a bit of experience within the university, I'm happy with the way things are running. Obviously, Ondrej has a review going of the class rep system and the liaison with the school convener, and I'm sure SSLC meetings will come into that as well. So yeah, there's I've lost my train of thought there, but there's changes going on. I'm not looking to make specific changes, but I'm saying here as a person, I feel I'm qualified to do this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation.
Quite long.
Thank you. Okay, Nathan, for your first question then. So your first point was quite interesting. You said that you wanted to produce some kind of guide that would be a guide to student life in Aberdeen. Okay, it was an interesting point to have a read through. But there has been in the past, people have wanted to make guides or similar things, maybe not directly related to that, but of a similar sort of ilk. And it hasn't usually gone very well. And as well as this, you also mentioned that you would take feedback from the students in order to help produce this guide. Now, obviously, there's been a bit of an issue in recent years with students being involved with ALSA at all. So how would you square those two issues?
Well, I think with the idea of the guide is the way that I see university is a story, and it's one where we come into a town, into a city, and we come in here a bit blind. You might come for open days, you might come for little visits and stuff like that, but when you come into a new city, you have no knowledge of the city. So the student guide, and why I want students to be able to engage with it, is that I see it as a beginning of a book or a beginning of a student guidebook where students that are already at Aberdeen can give stories, can give experiences of certain places, certain things that they've experienced, looking at potential jobs, where's the right places to look for them. One of the ones as a student that I've said on my manifesto is looking where to do the shopping at the right time for those yellow sticker items that we all look for. That's the kind of idea that I have about the student guide, is that not that it's full of bureaucratic stuff. It's more of a continuation of our stories as students, and that why I think students want to engage in that is that they'll then become a part of that legacy that will be able to be built on and enhanced going forward. And that's the kind of idea that I have around the student guide. I think that it would be a good idea. I mean, when I first came here, I didn't know anything about Aberdeen. So I kind of want to fix that thing that I struggled with.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for the explanation then. Okay, so we'll go back to Vanessa. Sorry, yeah, Vanessa now. Sorry, I was just reading something else. I didn't actually have one prepared for that one. But yeah, so yeah, your second point in your manifesto regarding transparency, of course, that's obviously an issue within AUSA, as I just mentioned a second ago, and many students do believe that that is a big issue that needs to be solved. But a lot of SABs have struggled with that in the past few years. So again, what specifically do you propose to fix that?
So kind of tackling the transparency where it started was when myself and a few girls in my class made a complaint of racism towards a professor in my department, and we found that we didn't know anything of the process, how it works, what kind of support we'll be getting, and who will be contacted when and how it should go on the process, according to university policy. And then after that, we got into more conversation with staff in equality, diversity, and inclusion positions, and we all found that we don't have specific mechanisms. Sorry, we don't have specific mechanisms for certain processes of complaints, for example. And so I found that how can staff and students act accordingly when we don't have a certain line of things that are happening after the other and we all agree on them. So then I found that also students aren't as knowledgeable, as you said, of AUSA's processes and universe processes, how all these things work. And so I think the best way to tackle this would be to review them. How do things work at the moment? Where are the drawbacks and how can we tackle them to go forward? And for instance, with racism specifically, only last year the online reporting tool was revised, and there was added a few sections for, okay, maybe if you experience racism, you can report it here. But then at the same time, the current challenge is, where's the support? You don't get any support specifically for racism, and the student support system doesn't have counselors specifically for this topic as well. So that would be definitely my way of approaching it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for that explanation there. Okay, Samuel, for you, I've just had a question come in, okay? So yeah, in your manifesto, you said that you are quite happy with the way the university is currently functioning, and you don't think that anything needs to be fixed at this time. What students are experiencing is, in many opinion, different to that, the opposite of that. So do you think that your response to that question shows that you are perhaps disconnected from the students? And do you think that you would be able to represent the students' opinions as student president?
Okay. So in terms of problems that I'm aware of within the university, I was talking to someone about the need for a clear process with class reps, so that's clear from the start what's expected. But personally, what I feel is the biggest problem, I guess, within the student population is just emotional well-being. I mean, the university already has had a huge drive with the whole Be Well campaign, looking to go and make sure that students have that support. I do believe that initiative will continue. So I guess what I'm saying is, in this role, I will continue what has already been started. Obviously, once I've started within the role, if I do get it, I will be able to see firsthand the problems that are there and address those. So yes, I've still got plenty I need to discover, but I do feel that I have the capability to deal with that. I do feel I am connected enough and know enough people to get a sense of what's been going on, and I will try my best in this role if I do get it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay then, Nathan, for your question, in point 3, I'm just going to read your third point, okay? You say, as in your priorities, sorry, your priorities. Your third priority, you say to lay a strong foundation in engagement to enrich and grow the student experience for those already at Aberdeen University, but also for those to come. Could you explain what you meant by this?
Yeah, of course. I think, with a lot of issues at university that we are experiencing at the moment, and the pandemic has caused us to kind of become disconnected a lot, and obviously social interaction has been obviously at a minimum. The basis for point three is that I think it now needs a restart, like kind of like an injection again to restart everything back up to what we see as normality. I think, as you already mentioned when you asked me my first question about engagement with the student populace, is something that needs to be worked on and will continue to be worked on long after, I've left university or whoever comes next. It's something where I talk about a legacy where we have to now start again after the pandemic, and I want to continue to grow that. So that's kind of the idea behind my point three.
Okay, thank you very much for that then. Right, okay, I think we'll probably finish up after this last round, and then we'll move on to the questions for everybody. Okay, but so we're beginning this round then with the last set of questions. Okay, then. So, Vanessa. So, in your third point on your manifesto, you say that the liberation section forms provide an invaluable service to students, but you also note that many of them are really struggling to, have a suitable level of activity, even to keep themselves running. And as we probably all know right now, several of them are totally inactive from that. So, with that said, do you believe that the forums really do give people an invaluable experience? Because probably most students don't know what the forums are or what they do. So do you really believe that they, do provide an invaluable service, or do you think that they need to have significant reform, or what's your thoughts towards this?
Oh, that's a great question. It's very unfortunate that some forums have not been able to stay active. And I can say for the Bain Forum, we definitely struggle to stay active during the springtime as everyone is getting very busy. So I think they do offer a very invaluable service. But I find that at the moment, they are mostly targeted towards students of protected characteristics. So that means that they are the students who are the first to look for safe communities because of the alienation and marginalization they experience in academia. And I think it would be great to relate their work more available, as in more relevant as societies are. Something that, we do not only educate the university and advise, but we also offer safe spaces to have fun and to enjoy our community and also create a space for us. So then, yes, I do believe that there needs to be some reform to fix this problem, because the way our university is built, the forums do kind of have the first student representation when it comes to issues that are relevant for students in the university.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Samuel, for your final question then, and let me get this right. In your manifesto, one of the things that you do say is that you include the points of university meetings and UK events. What does that mean? Could you explain that to us a little bit, please?
So on the website, you'll be familiar with all this. And there's a list of all the things that I will have to do if I get this role. A number of those roles require attending meetings. I don't mean to sound silly, but I'm basically just saying all of the university meetings that I will have to attend, which I have got a rough idea of, that's will be my priority. As I said, I'm not looking to particularly run on a particular policy. I'm just looking to go and do this job as best as I can. Can you remind me of was there a second part to that question?
It was what the meaning of university meetings and UK events was in your manifesto.
Okay, so just based on my limited understanding of what I will have to do in this role, I'm just saying basically that on a day-to-day basis I will be attending, a number of meetings. That will be my priority. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that then. So for the final question for this round, then this is with you, Nathan. So you have said that in your sorry at the I think it was towards the end of your manifesto, you said that you wanted to have more courses that were led by women and BAME people and LGBTQ people. Okay, but given that this is quite significantly, I would say, out of the reach of ALSA, and also given the fact that you would only be the president for a max of 2 years, do you know what sort of change you would realistically be looking to bring about in that time?
Yeah, of course. That final bit of the manifesto is linked to my second point in regards to setting up processes and events and kind of guidance in regards to sexual well-being and health. I think for me, growing up, when those kind of things were discussed in classrooms, it was always very heavily done by white straight males. And I have a lot of people in my life that are part of those communities. And I think if we are discussing sexual health, sexual well-being, sexual kind of protection and things like this, it needs to be coming from people that experience it in a different way. So that particular point in my manifesto is linked to my second point. I know obviously with ALSA and things like that, that it is quite difficult to do it over in the first term or even if you was to get a second year. But like I keep on saying, the main points of my manifesto is starting to create a foundation for a legacy that can go forward. I'm not going to be the only person who believes in these things. I'm not going to be the only person that wants these things to be enacted. I just hope that I will be a start. And that's kind of where that final bit of the manifesto comes from.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Right, thanks everybody for that one. That's the more daunting part of the questions done. There'll be no specific cross-examination of your manifestos anymore. Okay, so looking to everybody now. Now you can discuss this amongst yourselves if you want. You can have a sort of debate about this. But yeah, what do you all plan to bring to the campus, and what sort of experience have you had previously that makes you qualified or the most qualified to be the student president? Now, I suppose we'll begin with Vanessa for your answer, but then we'll kind of go around and you can all kind of respond to one another and have an opportunity to respond to one another. Okay, so we'll begin with you.
I would say that I would be qualified because of years of experience in equality, diversity, and inclusion work from both staff and student positions. So I've kind of gained like I've gained experience from different positions, and I do have a good understanding of how the university works. And also being a student, you start to learn what are the things that I see on the ground, basically in the grassroots where we all are as people. So it's kind of like a complicated image of how we as people work, but then there's also the institution and its system. So I think it is kind of interesting to see how the issues of the system kind of reflect on how we as people can manage and navigate these systems. So I think I could implement that experience in kind of experience of being an activist and how to work together with people in creating initiatives and present those to the wider academic community. So I'll be able to support students who find any challenges and want to create projects and take them further up in the institution.
Sorry. Okay, thank you very much for that then. And then we'll go to Samuel.
Sure.
Do you want the question repeated?
That would be helpful, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. So I don't actually have it written down, so I should probably, have done that. But I said, what do you plan to bring what do you plan to do to bring all of the campus together? What do you plan to bring to the campus? And what sort of experiences have you had previously that make you the best qualified candidate to be the student president?
Okay. So as I explained, part of being president will be attending meetings with trustees. There'll also be work with the vice presidents to go and ensure that their manifestos are met. We'll be working out what our priorities are for students, for the staff. There'll be lots of just general discussions. I'm sure we'll meet some important people that are part of other parts of the university. I think what's needed in that is someone that can, first of all, stay calm in pressured environments, and someone that, once they've got an idea of what they want to do, can stick to it. I do feel I can offer that. In terms of my personal experiences over the last few years that makes me suitable for this, I'm not going to go into details, but I've had some very tricky things that I've had to go through over the last few years. And I have experience of being in some quite high stakes legal battles involving lawyers and things. I've had to leave the country for 4 months due to a legal situation in the UK. That's a lot of pressure, not knowing when you're going to come back to the UK. So just to say, I've gone through some tricky stuff, got through the other side of it, back at uni, getting on with life, and I think I offer plenty as president, potential president.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Would you like the question repeated to you, or are you okay?
No, I'm not going to put you through that again.
Okay,
That sounded
thank you
quite
very much,
difficult. I think with the reasons why I wanted to do this position, like I said, and I've mentioned before in my previous answers, coronavirus affected all of our abilities to attend university in the correct way. My undergraduate final year was affected massively, so I never got to finish it. And then obviously with last year, with everything that was going on as well, you weren't having lectures on campus. So engagement on campus has been difficult because of the coronavirus. So it's like I've said previously, I want to kickstart that. I mean, personally, my own personal experience with this and engagement, I think I'm quite a bit older than the rest of the candidates here. I've had a career as a social worker working with young vulnerable people, and one of my job roles was an engagement youth worker. So I had to go into, youth hostels, had to go into youth centres to engage with people that find it very difficult to engage. So I've done that previously, and I think a lot of it, you have to put yourself out there. And I think you have to be very loud and very proud and kind of want to push the things you want to push, but also incorporating other people's ideas as well. And that's something that I really want to do.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, we're going to start with you again, and for the remainder of the questions, we're going to reverse the order. So, how do you plan to bring the sabbatical team together and work on joint priorities, particularly if people with conflicting manifestos get elected?
I think, the team that you're going to be working with is going to be your working team for the year. I mean, I've worked in situations where there's been difference of morality and ethical values in work positions, in university positions. And I think one of the things is you have to make sure that everyone feels that they have a voice and everyone feels like their opinions are taken into account. And it's supposed to be a safe space, and you're supposed to all work together and produce the correct work for the people you're trying to support and work with. So kind of doing one of those things, you have to take maybe people's advice and maybe believe that your opinion isn't just the best. And it's one of those ones we've kind of taken all that into account. That's a part of living in this world. You're not going to meet everyone all the time that's going to agree with you. And I think that's also the exciting thing. I've seen a lot of the other candidates. I know the things are starting to come out, and it's really exciting to work with any of them, as I think they all have valid opinions and some great ideas. So if I was to be elected, I'd enjoy working with absolutely anyone and everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Samuel, would you like me to repeat the question for you?
I'll give it a go.
Okay.
So this is just me answering. How do I deal with a situation where we have different manifestos, disagreements as potential leader? How do I bring those people together? I'll just keep coming back to the question: what is our priority? Obviously, here are the different perspectives, but what is our priority in this situation? What's the most important thing? Can we agree on something here? As someone in that leadership position, I'll be saying, look, here's a solution that I think brings in some of those different perspectives. Can we agree? Can we make some compromises? What can we agree on? What can we do to make sure that we get things done for everyone?
Okay, thank you very much. Vanessa, would you like me to repeat the question for you, or are you okay? Okay.
As Nathan said, I feel like all candidates have amazing ideas, and we do have a lot of commonalities in our manifestos. And I feel like we all have had to work with people who are very different from us, come from very different backgrounds, and have very differing worldviews and perspectives, especially in institutional discussions on racism. I have found that I most often have to work with white staff members and white interns who do not have any knowledge or experience of the realities of, let's say, racial discrimination. And that is where we just have to realize that we all have the same goal. We all have to figure things out and make initiatives to challenge these inequalities and inequities that we have. So it's just a matter of compromises and making sure that we all hear what everyone has to say, because creating safe spaces is not a possibility in each of these discussions. And in academia as well, creating safe spaces is always not the best option, because how do you create a safe space, let's say for discussions of racism. Maybe we can get back to that later. But yeah, I think as long as we have the same goals, we'll be able to work together.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we've just had a question come in from online. We're going to begin with Samuel and then move to Vanessa and then finish with Nathan. Okay, so the question is, could you describe the difference, please, between the University of Aberdeen and the Aberdeen University Students Association, between UOA and between ALSA?
Okay, this is a good question because this tests my knowledge of how the university structure works. Just a second. Almost done. Cancel. Okay. So the university is not just obviously run by students. There is a whole leadership structure, and we obviously every month we have meetings as a council that are chaired by yourself, and at those meetings, the vice president, president, etc., get back to all the school conveners on what they've been doing, on their roles, etc. So that's one part of university life, bringing up issues, etc. Obviously, school conveners liaise with university staff. We have class reps, etc. That's kind of student council. We also have something called the Senate within the university, and then there's another part of the university, which maybe you can remind me of, or remind everyone of, that also has a role. And Senate meets once a month. At that, larger scale university policies are discussed. So there'll be representatives from the whole university, obviously, but in this case, there's more staff. Each school convener and the sabbatical officers have a position on the Senate. I've been attending Senate, etc., almost done. So, yes, I have an understanding of the university structure. I've explained some of it. I hope that was helpful.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Vanessa, please. The difference between the university itself, the University of Aberdeen, and Aberdeen University Students Association. If you could explain that for us, please.
Sure. I find that Aberdeen Students Association is kind of the mediator between the institution and the students, but also a representative. So there is kind of mediation part, but also representatives of the students, and also there are electives chosen by the students. So it's a very different structure than the university that is structured by basically an institution that is based on white normativity, when on the other hand, the student association will look like the students and who we choose to be there.
Okay, thank you very much. Nathan, the difference between the University of Aberdeen and Aberdeen University Students Association, please.
Yeah, no, I was getting lost in track there when you keep on saying it like that. For me, it comes down to quite simply that AUSA is student voices that has the opinions and the support issues and the kind of trajectory for students by students, whereas the university is very heavily faculty led, and sometimes their opinions or their choices is purely from the benefit of the university, whereas AUSA's role and how I see it is to benefit the student at all times. There was an incident last year where it had to go to Senate several times in regards to taking into account the coronavirus. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was when we were trying to get it taken into account for marking. And it was something where the university originally decided that there wasn't going to be any support there, whereas the AUSA and especially in the Senate fought for the student rights. And that's pretty much how I see the two differences in the institutions.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We've just had one more question come in. So I'm just going to read it off of that laptop in just a second, but the order for it, I think we'll start with Nathan and then go to Vanessa and then go to Samuel. Okay. So, how do the candidates plan to improve the communications between ALSA and the uni, as in two students from both ALSA and the uni? If that was clear enough, sorry.
Yeah, no. I think one of the things is really important. Like I said, we've had a very, very difficult period with coronavirus, which has affected all of the normal ways that universities were run. And I think a lot of people that have joined the university during the coronavirus had a very, very difficult beginning of engagement. I think what we need to do going forward is to kind of go back to a way of doing it the right way and kind of restarting everything, like I said previously in a lot of my answers. You know, it's one of those ones where you have to go out, be loud, be proud, you know, kind of share everything, be involved in everything. You know, societies are such an important part of socialization. And, you know, unfortunately with coronavirus, we've not been able to engage in those as much. You know, in my undergraduate university, I was involved in many different societies, and I think they're an important thing. You know, one of the best things I like to do is go to the pub and meet new people and start chatting about absolutely everything and anything. And I think it's just going back to realizing that we can start to live again, and we can start to be involved in things again. And that's the exciting thing. And being a student is brilliant because you can go and do pretty much whatever you want to do and fight for whatever you want to do. That's what makes students so impressive. You know, we're not tied down by job roles, we're not tied down by older ideals. We're kind of new again and we're getting to do things again. And I think that's exciting.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you like the question repeated to you? Yes, please. Okay, could I just see it again, please? Just to make sure I get it right. How do you plan to improve the communication between AUSA and the university and the students?
I find that our university or our academic community in general kind of struggles with communication. There is a huge gap in kind of creating a united community, to say. That sounded very political. But I think a way to improve it would be to actually be more transparent and show that our university is here for us, and AUSA is most definitely here for us, and we can represent ourselves through AUSA. And I think kind of making sure that as we all want to enhance engagement as well, we need to make sure that more students find that it is worthwhile to be represented in these institutions and AUSA, and that the benefits from being a representative and also being part of these institutions and represent your community is something that actually makes change. And I think that is something that will be able to enhance the communication between everyone. Because at the moment, if you don't care, you will not follow anything that is going on as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Samuel, then, do you want the question repeated to you?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Okay, how do you plan to improve the communication between AUSA, the university, and the students?
Okay. So AUSA, I should pronounce it properly, AUSA has a constitution, it has its rules, it has its ways of working. There have been a number of changes put through that I was aware of, etc. So that's important to realize that there is that constitution there. But in terms of changes, I feel I would make practical solutions. I've touched on class reps, some clarification over roles. So there's more of a clear process. So, for example, by 2 weeks in, the lecturer has established there is a class rep. By the 5th week or by the end of term, they have submitted a report. Just to make that process a bit simpler. The other point, which Vanessa has touched on more, is transparency. And I think it would be good for maybe a video or a booklet which just outlines some of the day-to-day work that students do, just so that you don't feel like we're unelected. Because there is, I will be learning about this if I get this role, there is a lot that is done. It's not just a visual, symbolic role. There is plenty of work done in the background so that people know. That would be helpful.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Right, okay, you now have an opportunity to finish up just very quickly, please, 1 minute, just to provide a closing statement on yourselves and on your campaign broadly. You can say whatever you like, but we'll go in the opposite order from how we started, which I think would be Nathan, then Samuel, then Vanessa, if that's right. Okay, so Nathan, please.
Yeah, I mean, closing statements. I think one of the things that I think is one of the reasons why I think you should vote for me is that I want to do the best for everyone. I want to try and engage as much as possible. I want to try and create, as I keep on saying, a legacy, starting this foundation and then growing it. I want everyone who is a student at the University of Aberdeen to realize that we are together. We are a family. We do need to work together. We do need to meet each other again. I think a lot of the issues and the enhancement we have with the university at the moment has been very heavily affected by coronavirus, which, thank God we're getting out of that now. And I think we just need to realize that there's a lot of fun to do. There's a lot of things we can talk about, we can get involved with. And that's the kind of stuff I want to do. I want to get involved with everything, and I want to learn about different people and learn their stories, why they came here, why they want to do in the future. And I think that's the role of the student president, is being involved with everything.
Okay, thank you very much for that then. Samuel, please, your closing statement.
Sure. I don't think that was the order, but that's fine.
I believe that was the...
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
fairly sure.
I've written
Yeah.
it down wrong then. That's absolutely fine, don't worry. Closing statement. Please vote for me, KEE exclamation mark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Okay, Vanessa, your closing statement, please.
Just to kind of wrap up everything that we've discussed so far, I find it amazing that all of us candidates have amazing ideas, and we're all kind of running towards the same goal here. We're all trying to fix the disjointedness of our university and academic community in general. We're trying to increase communication, and that is really the way to make sure that our students are engaged with us at AUSA, but also with the university. And it would be horrible if we all just lost hope in that. So I hope to be that person to help our student community to kind of get hope again towards our grassroots activism, that we are actually making change. There are many projects that we have done, even with the BAME Forum last year, that have gained so much traction among staff at the moment. So we really are just going forward all the time, although it feels like because of the pandemic, things have slowed down a lot, but we are getting back to it. As Nathan said, we are kind of creating a legacy towards the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much. That concludes this debate for you guys, so thank you all for coming along, and best of luck to all of you. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hi guys, just to let you know, we're going to have a wee 5-minute break now, and then we're going to continue with the welfare vice president candidates. Okie dokie, let's get started with round two. I'm Anthony. I'm the editor of the Gaudi. I'll be asking and quizzing you this time round. I think we'll start off with brief introductions, about 2 minutes each. We'll move in this direction. So, Sai, Emmanuel, and Pearl, if you want to start. Sai.
So, hello everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Sai, and I am running for the position of the VP of Welfare. A little bit about myself. I am a postgrad psychology student to graduate this spring. And yes, in the lines of what Vanessa previously mentioned, we run under the slate, we are here now. So we stand for that, we are here now. And I have previously been active within university in different events and different forums and different committees as well to work towards welfare. And I hope to do that and carry that forward. Thank you.
Emmanuel.
All right, thank you for having me. My name is Emmanuel Tekuheduvo, a postgraduate student offering MSc in accounting. I'm from Ghana. And then I am also a carer. And because of that, I have people's welfare at heart. So that's briefly about me for now. Thank you.
Thanks, and Pearl.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Pearl Mensah, a postgraduate data science student, and I'm standing for the position of welfare for OSA. I'm excited to be here, even though I'm a little paranoid, and I hope once elected, I can serve in the interest of everybody, all the students' body. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. I think we'll start off with a similar kind of structure. So I'll ask each of you individual questions, more or less about your manifestos. Then we can move to more general ones for everyone to answer, and do feel free to chip in to each other's, or to reply to what other people have said, and then we'll find out if there have been any questions from the audience. But we'll start off again in the same direction. So first one to you, Sai. You say in your manifesto that you primarily stand for quote, inclusion, diversity, and integrity. And how do you think that will be reflected in AUSA if you were elected? And maybe do you think how is it lacking right now?
So, even though I primarily stand for integrity, diversity, and inclusion, integrity, diversity, and inclusion, there's a lot more to it. And I feel like if I am elected for this position, there's a learning curve in every position that you're elected in. So it's, walking down that path and learning as you start working. So I think inclusion is a big, big, big issue. I have faced over here. I have seen in university as well, in different forums and different committees. I'm sorry, but I feel stepping up to this position and actually getting to work, if I am to be elected, would be the first step, and learning throughout would be the first step as well. So, thank you.
Thanks for that. Emmanuel, you say in your manifesto, one of your key pledges is to have a mental health office or officer in every school, and presumably that's every school in the university, so from politics to geology. That would be quite costly potentially. How do you see that actually happening, both in terms of organization and in terms of funding?
Oh, all right. Thank you for the question. From my experience from the care home where I work, I think mental health is one of the serious issues that we should be concentrating on, coupled with the fact that the current dispensation we are in, when we are faced with the pandemic, and coupled with the academic workload, a lot of people are affected one way or the other emotionally, and therefore they are not stable just to focus on the academic work, the reason why they are here. I know the university have a kind of similarity in place now, but considering our population, that is too huge for one unit to manage and to accelerate or giving us a matter of agency, we need to spread it across other schools. And that is why I'm saying that when I'm elected, we are going to make sure that we have a rep in every school, like business school, law school, or those stuff. And it's not just to go and be some physical something. I know as at now we have people at the various school of health who are studying psychology and those who can be of help, mental sort of who can be of help. So it's going to be more or less of a social club or a voluntary something that every intermediary, maybe everyone, every week, we're going to have some online briefing, like online clinic, to offer support and help to students who are one way or the other being affected emotionally or psychologically. That is what I mean that we are going to establish it across colleges just to increase accessibility to those who might need those services. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Question to you, Pearl. You said in your manifesto that student safety and spiking key issues that you'd like to address, and you say that awareness is a key issue for that. How would you raise awareness of that, and how do you see AUSA's and the university's roles being in that?
Could you kindly repeat the last bit of the question? How do I see?
So how do you see both AUSA and the university cooperating on that? Do you think that is just something for AUSA potentially, or do you think the university also has a role to play in that?
So the issue of spiking over the past month has gotten extremely rampant. There's been high cases, and ultimately it's not safe for students, especially the female students. I don't think it's just an OSA problem. I think it's a university problem as well, because if something happens to a student in the University of Aberdeen, it doesn't affect just OSA. It's the University of Aberdeen. I think the OSA body and then university can come to terms as to how they can curb the issue of spiking. And as to how to raise awareness, I believe in the power of social media as one thing. Most people here are very young. Everybody should have a social media account, I'm assuming. And I think in the process of raising awareness, we can push on all social media platforms, not limited to just OSAP, but the university at large, to make students aware of how serious spiking is and how it's affecting the student body. Thank you.
Thanks very much. We'll start again with Syed this time, and then we'll start from the other direction after these questions. So you're running on a slate. We're here now, but obviously you don't know who else is going to be elected, and if those other people who aren't on your slate are elected, do you think you're going to be able to work with them all right?
I mean, definitely. We work with a common goal in our heads when we, decide to run in the first place. And I feel like if anyone feels otherwise, it just doesn't work, does it? And yes, if I do run under the slate, but I feel like may the best candidate win, may the best person who everyone feels is fit for the role or fit for, the position be elected. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Emmanuel, you say also in your manifesto that you'd like to set up support groups run by students, mainly to counter antisocial behaviour, with also a focus on countering sexual assault. How do you see the role of students in that? You say you'd like to have them run by students, but do you think there might be issues with students not necessarily having professional qualifications or training to run that kind of activities?
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. You know, University of Aberdeen is a very big university and have over 130 nationals coming here to study. So that means you all have different cultural diversity. What might be wrong somewhere might be accepted somewhere. So that's why a lot of in times we have sort of like differences in culture, and then that leads to maybe some hate speech and some kind of what might be considered assault somewhere might not be considered assault somewhere. So what I intend to do is to bring all this nationality together. Then we form some kind of a social club where we educate ourselves. We learn what is right here, what is not wrong here, just to get people informed what's supposed to be done, so that we bring this cohesion together as students, just to avoid some social antisocial behaviors as we are in Aberdeen here, Scotland. What is not right, what we things should be done in the Scottish way, because the University of Aberdeen is a Scottish school. So we have to come together from different nationalities just to promote one common agenda.
Thanks very much. Kind of moving on from that, Pearl, in your manifesto, you say that you'd like to push and pressure the university to publish their policies on sexual violence. How would you go about that? And also, do you think there's an issue with the university not making public how they deal with people at university who have committed acts of harassment towards the students or just elsewhere?
Thank you very much. With surety, I can't guarantee 100% that my position in power would propel the university to publish the policies that I am in talk of, like according to my manifesto. But from my angle, the best I can do is try, and that's why I am pushing to be in power. Because if you don't try, you don't know what could come out of it potentially. So, with regards to surety, I'm very, very much interested in pushing. That's it with regards to the surety. And the second bit of the question, sorry, kind of escaped.
It was just a follow-up because currently the university doesn't publish what action it necessarily is taken against students who may have taken part in harassment, whether they're still allowed at the university or if there's been any sanctions against them. Do you think that's okay, or do you think that they should also
I
make that
think
public?
it's not okay. It's not okay for the university to be quiet about issues of corruption, issues of harassment and bullying. Because policies are not established, you don't really have a clear understanding as to the stance of the university in this regard. So if they should push policies on that, then you know that, okay, this is our stance, we don't support it. But as far as the policies are concerned, as far as it's not published, it gives an indication or an impression that they are not interested and they are supportive of harassment and bullying. Yeah.
Thanks very much. For this round, I think we can just move to Emmanuel and then Pearl and then Sai, and then we can do Pearl and Sai and Emmanuel if that works for you. Cool. Emmanuel, you say in your manifesto that academic workloads are causing students to be, quote, emotionally unstable. How would you address that? And do you think the answer to that is reduced workloads? And how would you make that happen in practice where lecturers are keen on keeping the workloads that they already have, saying that there's not enough time to teach the things they need to teach as it is, if that makes sense?
What I mean by because of the academic workload, a lot of people are mentally, emotionally unstable. You can't deny the fact that at the moment we are in the hard times. That is a couple of, because of the pandemic, we have a couple of economic challenges that is affecting everybody. So everybody or less is kind of stressed up in certain way. And when academic workload add up, it makes you, the stress become, overburden. So what I'm trying to do is people just need somebody to speak to, somebody to remind you of the reason why here. Somebody just to give you some word of encouragement. That's what a lot of people need. It's not something extraordinary, some kind of just a word of motivation alone can help a brother or a sister get back on track. So it's not only about the financial assistance and kind of, or maybe telling lecturers to expand their lectures or not doing an assignment, but just we should be each other's keeper. Just be there for a brother or a sister. Support him when the person is in need. Give him or her some word of encouragement to just remind somebody the reason why she's here. Because ultimately, everybody that travel from wherever she's coming from to Abedi is here to learn, and that degree matters. But some pressures alone can just make them shift focus. So we just need to form a group that to engage ourselves in constant communication, just to give each other some word of motivation. That's what I mean. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Pearl, you're suggesting in your manifesto that the university and AUSA's hardship funds should be more open to students maybe needing financial assistance, but also that AUSA should partner with local employers to offer part-time opportunities to students to earn some money. How would you go about finding employers which have paying the minimum wage and have fair, contracts and so on?
Sorry.
How would you make sure that when partnering with employers that they have fair contracts and pay the legal minimum wage and so on? And secondly, how would you go about providing more funding from hardship funds?
Okay, thank you very much. With regards to employees, I believe sending proposal for starters to employees about if should they need. So the Careers and Employability Service, they have this platform where they send placement opportunities, internship opportunities to students. And I feel like maybe that would be too demanding for a student who has a lot of work schedule. So why not get something similar, but then in a form of, say, shop assistant job, like not such high demanding jobs where students can also participate in at convenient working hours, so they can do in addition to their studies, which is not so difficult. I think most of the time, what happens is that people like local employers are scared to employ people in the university because they are sometimes overqualified for the job description. But what if we send proposals to convince local employers that, okay, these people are overqualified, but then they have the time and then they can do this job? It's especially hard for people who are not, say, citizens of Scotland because of, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure why there's that disparity when it comes to employing people from outside Scotland, but it's especially hard for them. So it's wise that you send like proposals to these employers for starters. That's my base plan, like to send proposals to these employers to open opportunities for people in the university as well. Yes.
Thanks very much. We move to Sai now. You mentioned in your manifesto that you'd be interested in not only decolonizing the curriculum, but also decolonizing welfare. Could you maybe elaborate what you mean by that?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So what I would like to elaborate is that I would like to rethink how welfare works within university, and not just the students, and also on higher levels, and to basically rebuild the university with being in contact with the community and with interacting with students and with interacting and with anyone that's associated to AUSA or the University of Aberdeen. So what I primarily mean is rethinking welfare, within university. Thank you.
Okie dokie. we should go another round. One more. Yeah. We finished this round of questions, didn't we? I think we did. We can go to general questions for everyone to answer now. We can start from Pearl and then go to Sai and then Emmanuel, if that works for you guys. So as sabbatical officers, you'll no doubt be facing a lot of competing interests as to what different students would like to see happen. You'll be responsible for running the welfare committee and supporting its activities. And then obviously you'll have other commitments as well as sabbatical officers. So how do you see yourselves as making sure that the workloads aren't too much for you, but also how will you be able to decide what's a priority for you and what isn't? If you want to start, Paul.
With regards to the priorities, I think the best people to answer that is the students' body. So if once elected into power, there could be a poll as to what concerns what the pressing need is for students, and we can work towards that in that regard. And for decentralizing the power, I believe like these committees have like subheads that I very look forward to working with, so as to not make the workload too burdensome. Yeah.
Thanks. Sai, do you want me to repeat the question? So as a sabbatical officer, you'll have a lot of competing interests and competing responsibilities, and students are going to want to see different things happen. How do you see yourself as being able to organize those priorities and decide what happens first and what maybe doesn't happen at all?
So first of all, I don't think I would be working alone. I am with a team of sabbatical officers and the student president. So it definitely comes down to teamwork and working together and being there for one another in every situation. And definitely, like Pearl mentioned, there are different forums, there are different committees under, our positions as well, and under our main areas of interest and concentrations as well. So that helps, but again, it depends on how we take the office. And again, like I mentioned before, it's a learning curve, it's a learning process, and I feel working along with the team and just being there for each other would definitely serve the purpose. Thank you.
Thanks. Emmanuel, do you want me to repeat the question as well?
It's okay. Even though as we are campaigning, we all have our individual policies that we want to implement. But after the election, we are going to have a team of people who are going to work together. So I believe that what we need to do is when we are elected into office, probably we sit together as a group, then outline our policy as executive together. That will include, the individual objectives of individuals. So it then become a team goal. Then we all work progressively towards a team goal. It's not going to be only for welfare, because we're going to have a welfare, we're going to have a sports together, we're going to have then, like a master plan for the entire executive. Then we take it from there. Then it's going to be some kind of a work plan for the whole OSA, not individual executive members. Thank you.
Thanks. So we started with Pearl last time, so we'll start with Sai this time and move through that way. As Vice President for Welfare, potentially, what do you think is the most important thing in terms of student welfare? What do you think students need and want to see happen?
First and foremost, communication with OUSA, being able to communicate with the sabbatical officers, transparency in every single aspect. Like my manifesto suggests, I stand for diversion, inclusion, and but all that comes with communication. So if that's not there, if that's not present, then there's nothing that's possible. So yeah, communication, I feel. Thank you.
Thanks. Emmanuel?
Thank you very much. What should be a priority should be what the majority says. So what will be my priority is what will be the best interest of the student. How do I know the best interest? By getting them involved with whatever decision you want to take. You don't just take a decision as a welfare vice chair, then you pose it on them. You have to create a solicit views so that you therefore know what they really want. And that should be what you should also champion for. Thank you.
Thanks. And Pope?
Okay, I think as students, the main purpose of us being here is to study and being well overall is very important. So I think what students may need to a large extent, I can't speak for every student, of course, but from the little people that I've spoken with, I think everybody's concerned about their mental health. School can be very difficult sometimes. So focusing and advocating for mental health policies and issues that will help them overall is what I think would be a priority in this regard. Yeah.
Thanks very much, everyone, for those. We'll go from Emmanuel to Pearl to Sai this time round. How important do you think it is as sabbatical officers and welfare officers to be accessible to students? But also, how would you make sure that you also have your personal time and your rest time so that you're not constantly working while being, accessible to students and being in contact with them and making sure that their welfare is taken care of, but also making sure that your own welfare is important as well. Do you want to start, Emmanuel?
Thank you very much. There are so many avenues that we can reach out to people. We have the platforms to communicate with people. We have emails that we can create to let people aware. We can hold online event just to get to people. So the most important thing here is to keep that connection between the executives and the student body as well. And it's not always just going to be a physical meeting, just moving around just to get you exhausted. But in as much as possible, just get to people just through any form of communication, just to ensure that everybody is fine and everybody is okay, as well as ensuring that my safety also count and my welfare also count. Just it's a 50-50. It should be more virtual. I think we should be able to do that. Thank you.
Thanks. Do you want me to repeat the question, Pearl?
Yes, I would like you to repeat.
Absolutely. So I think being accessible to students is important, and I think students will think that. But also, how do you balance taking care of students' welfare with taking care of your own welfare and not being at work all the time?
Okay, thank you. I believe the role is a full-time role, so I'm under the assumption that there's a specific work hours that we're supposed to be doing, and most importantly is like a sabbatical role. So I believe once elected, my whole time will be dedicated to doing something like that. But obviously, it's very easy to burn out with roles like this, moving around, trying to get things done properly, trying to deliver your manifesto promises. So there are things that I personally like to do I have to take, like, when I'm overwhelmed, I like to relax and more like a me time thing. So, it's very personal. I think it's very important that I'm okay so that I can serve in the well-being of people as well. So to create the balance, yes, I'm going to dedicate specifically work towards my work hours. And if there's a need to work extra work hours, I make sure that I take the needed break so that I don't end up burning out, which will subsequently affect my role. Thank you.
Thanks. Sai, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. Thank you. So, like both my fellow candidates mentioned, there needs to be a balance in between work and leisure time. I definitely believe so. I feel if elected in this position, definitely if there is an issue to be tackled at some sort of urgency, I definitely would tend to it. But it is stated, it's a full-time job. There are days stipulated which are off days, but still, if I am required, and if I'm not able to tend to a certain issue or a certain event, I feel communication is essential. I think communication with the required authorities, the essential people who are involved within those spaces is essential. And maintaining balance, yes, that's essential as well. And yeah, I mean, I know personally I am someone, if I am involved in something, I just go for it. I don't really take care of myself. That's something I'm really working on right now. But yeah, that's going to be a learning experience for me, to be honest. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Do you want to come in there?
Yes, sorry.
just
I
quickly.
would also like to add that evidently we'll be working in a team. So if I can't take care of something in the interim, I believe someone will be able to step up and then take care of the issue. Yep.
Thanks. And then we'll just go to one final question for everyone before we have the closing statements, because we're running out of time. So then we'll start with Pearl and then go to Sai and then Emmanuel, if that works for everyone. Liberation and section forums are obviously a very important part, not only of representation, but also of students' welfare. How would you promote the liberation and the section forums? And do you think that they should have a more structured role than they do now? Pearl?
They should have a more structural role,
A more structured role.
a more structured role.
Because right now they don't really have much of a mandate as such. So do you think that their activities, what they do, should be more structured? Or do you think that they're good as they are now?
I think if there's a little bit of structure, and it would help, then why not? They should definitely have like more structure. Yes. The first part of the question, I kind of.
And then in general, how do you see the role of liberation section forums in student welfare and in your role as a sabbatical officer?
So I would like to confess and say I'm not really familiar with what the liberation familiar with exactly what they do, but I'm under the assumption that they advocate for freedom to an extent. So well, I would like to work with them, and I believe they need more structure. Yes, I think. Yeah.
Thanks. Pearl, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. Thank you. I definitely feel. So I definitely feel the structure of the liberation forums need to be reconsidered. But I feel engagement of students is vital, and that's a starting point. And if that's not included, if that's not started at some point, then no one would essentially know what a liberation forum would do in university, and everyone, like, you come in and you're just like, okay, what's that about? Well, basically, yeah, information regarding these forums, information regarding every forum on university actually needs to be increased so that people know what they stand for, and then improving the structural flow of these forums would be essential. Thank you.
Thanks. Emmanuel, would you like me to repeat the question?
Okay, thank you. I think the liberation in our daily life, what we need to do is to plan. He who failed to plan has planned to fail, and I believe in that. So I believe that there should be a structure, a well structure. That is planning. So when you plan, you put your things together in the form of a structure. So deliberation is all boils down to communication. So you plan your activity, what you want to do, then you will be able to communicate it to the student public. So I believe that there should be a structured way of communicating or deliberating on issue. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone, for your great answers. We'll go to final closing statements. I think if we start with Sai and then Emmanuel and then Pearl, then we'll have gone full circle and everyone would have been able to start an equal number of times. So just around 1 minute to close off why you're running, what your campaign's about. Sai.
So I would personally be running to dedicate my time and work towards the well-being, welfare of everyone who's included, associated within university, not just this campus, on every campus that we have, and be there basically for every student or anyone who's associated to the university again, who physically cannot be here on this campus or any other campus for that matter. But I run under the slate "We're Here Now," so I would really like to do justice to what we stand for. We're here now. Have all hands on deck, and basically just work to the betterment and improvement of welfare. But again, I feel we three make really good candidates. So may the best candidate win, and yeah, all the best to you guys as well.
Thanks. Emmanuel?
Thank you. As a student who have been, as an international student who have been a student leader back in my home country before, who have served in the capacity as a financial secretary, I think I have a lot of experience that I'm bringing on board. And coupled with that is my experience as a carer, because my engagement with people have given me some kind of experience and rethink my focus to see that service to mankind is indeed service to God. So you need to have everybody's at heart. That include my fellow aspirants here. I think when I'm elected, I'm the best candidate to put their issue at heart and then serve them diligently. Thank you.
Thanks, Impel.
Nice words. Thank you very much. I think the welfare of students is very essential. Otherwise, then this role wouldn't have been created in the first place. When it comes to mental health, when it comes to sexual health, well-being generally, and housing issues, there are a lot of problems, and I think everybody here has like a really good potential of working well because we all have similar aims and aspirations. However, I believe I'm the best candidate for the job because I have a little bit of experience when it comes to dealing with people, and I possess some qualities that would help make the job easier. And I hope I'm voted in so I can make drastic changes in ALSA. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much to all our candidates, both presidential and vice president for welfare, for everyone who turned up today and who tuned in online, and for all our technical staff as well. Daniel and I will be back here next Thursday at the same time. If you want to come along or tune in, we'll be interviewing the education, communities and activities candidates. So hope to see you then, and I think we'll give a round of applause to our candidates as well. Thanks very much, everyone.